You're standing in an ancient battlefield. The air is thick with dust and the smell of steel. Before you stands a Crusader knight, 6 feet of hardened warrior wrapped in gleaming mail and plate armor. His sword catches the light as he raises it, eyes burning with the fire of absolute faith. Now, imagine that same warrior facing off against a modern soldier. Kevlar vest, ceramic plates, an M4 rifle with a red dot sight, and night vision goggles hanging from his helmet. 2 warriors, 2 eras, 1 question. Who walks away? The answer? It's not as simple as you think, because this isn't just about guns versus swords. This is about 2 entirely different worlds of warfare colliding in the ultimate hypothetical battle. First, let's understand exactly who we're dealing with here. A Crusader knight wasn't just some guy with a sword. These were the special forces of the medieval world. We're talking about warriors who started training as pages when they were 7 years old. By the time they earned their spurs, they'd spent over a decade mastering swordplay, horsemanship, and the brutal art of medieval combat. Picture a man who could fight for hours in 60 pounds of steel armor, who could charge into battle on a 1,000-pound warhorse, and who genuinely believed that dying in combat would guarantee his place in paradise. That's not just a soldier. That's a weapon forged by faith and a lifetime of warfare. Now, the modern soldier. Boot camp, advanced combat training, weapons qualification, tactical medicine, urban warfare, desert warfare, jungle warfare. These aren't knights charging gloriously into battle. These are precision instruments of military science. Today's infantry soldier carries more firepower in his basic loadout than entire medieval armies could dream of. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about technology versus tradition. It's about 2 completely different philosophies of war meeting head-to-head. Let's talk about what these warriors were actually made of. The Crusader knight? This guy's daily routine made CrossFit look like a casual yoga class. Imagine strapping on 60 pounds of steel every morning and calling that your work clothes. These men could march 20 miles in full armor, then fight a pitched battle, then do it again the next day. They trained from childhood with real weapons, not foam swords or training dummies, but actual steel that could split a man in half. By the time they reached the Holy Land, they'd already survived years of brutal tournament combat where death was a real possibility. The Crusaders' gym membership, carrying 60 pounds of steel uphill, daily for years. Modern soldiers go through intense physical conditioning too, but it's different. We're talking about tactical fitness, the ability to carry heavy packs over long distances, to function under extreme stress, to coordinate complex operations while being shot at. Where the Crusader built raw physical power and individual combat prowess, the modern soldier builds endurance, adaptability, and the ability to integrate with advanced weapon systems. But here's the thing. Both are products of their time. The Crusader was optimized for face-to-face combat in an age of steel and muscle. The modern soldier is optimized for technological warfare where battlefield awareness and precision matter more than how hard you can swing a sword. This is where things get absolutely insane. The Crusader's arsenal reads like something out of a fantasy novel. We're talking about pattern-welded swords that took mastersmiths months to forge, crossbows that could punch through mail at 50 yards, lances designed to concentrate a charging horse's momentum into a single, devastating point. And let's not forget, these weren't just weapons, they were works of art. Each sword was hand-forged, tested in real combat, passed down through generations. A knight's weapons were literally worth more than most people's entire lives. Now, the modern soldier's loadout. M4 Carbine. Effective range 500 meters. Rate of fire 700 rounds per minute. Add in fragmentary grenades, body armor that can stop rifle rounds, night vision that turns darkness into day, and radio communication that can call in air support from miles away. But here's the fascinating part, and this is crucial. All of that technological superiority comes with a massive vulnerability. Ammunition, batteries, fuel, supply lines. A Crusader's sword never runs out of ammo. His armor doesn't need batteries. His horse doesn't require GPS satellites. In a prolonged engagement where resupply is impossible, suddenly those medieval weapons start looking a lot more reliable. Let's talk about staying alive under fire. Crusader armor was the pinnacle of medieval military technology. We're talking about overlapping steel plates designed to deflect sword strikes, mace blows, and crossbow bolts. A fully armored knight was essentially a human tank, nearly impervious to the weapons of his era. Arrows would literally bounce off well-made plate armor. Sword strikes that would kill an unarmored man would merely scratch the surface. These guys could wade through medieval battlefields like they were walking through rain. Modern body armor is a completely different animal. Kevlar vests, ceramic trauma plates, ballistic helmets, all designed around one specific threat: high-velocity projectiles. Here's the wild part. A Crusader's armor might actually stop certain modern bullets. Some steel plates are thick enough to deflect small-caliber rounds, especially at distance. But here's the problem. A Crusader could shrug off arrows all day, dodge sword strikes, and laugh at mace blows. But a 5.56 NATO round traveling at 3,000 feet per second, that's a whole different conversation. Medieval armor was designed for impact weapons, things that hit hard but relatively slowly. Modern armor is designed for penetrating weapons that punch through with incredible velocity. Put simply, neither armor system was designed for the other era's weapons. This is where the rubber meets the road, or should I say, where the steel meets the Kevlar. Crusader tactics were all about shock and awe. Picture this: hundreds of armored knights charging across an open field on massive war horses, lances lowered, moving like an avalanche of steel and fury. The psychological impact alone was devastating. They fought in formations that had been perfected over centuries: shield walls, cavalry charges, and siege warfare where victory went to whoever could outlast the other guy's food supplies. Modern soldiers fight completely differently. Small unit tactics, combined arms coordination, suppression fire, and maneuver warfare. Instead of charging directly at the enemy, they use cover, concealment, and overwhelming firepower to control the battlefield. But here's where it gets really interesting. The scenario matters a lot. One-on-one in an open field, the modern soldier wins before the Crusader can close the distance. That rifle has an effective range of 500 meters. A charging knight covers maybe 40 meters before he's ventilated. But what if we change the rules? Dense forest, where visibility is limited to 20 feet, urban ruins where there's cover everywhere. What if the modern soldier runs out of ammunition? Suddenly, that armored knight with a sword doesn't look so outdated. Army versus army is even more complex. Modern combined arms would absolutely devastate a medieval force in open terrain. But strip away the air support, the artillery, the supply lines, and you've got small units of modern soldiers facing warriors who trained their entire lives for exactly this kind of close-quarters chaos. Now we get to the part that's impossible to quantify but absolutely crucial. what's going on inside their heads. The Crusader fought with something that's almost alien to modern warfare: absolute spiritual conviction. These men genuinely believed that death in battle was a direct ticket to paradise. Not hoped, not thought, believed, with every fiber of their being. Imagine fighting someone who's not just unafraid to die. He's actually eager for it, because he knows with absolute certainty that dying here, today, while fighting God's enemies, guarantees eternal salvation. Modern soldiers fight with something equally powerful but completely different: a dot, professional discipline, unit cohesion, and tactical doctrine drilled into them until it becomes instinct. Where the Crusader has fanatical zeal, the modern soldier has training that functions even under extreme stress. Where the Crusader fights for eternal reward, the modern soldier fights for his brothers in arms and the mission. But here's the million-dollar question. In that moment when everything goes wrong, when you're face to face with an enemy who wants to kill you, does religious fanaticism beat modern training? The answer depends on the individual. Some Crusaders broke and ran when things got desperate. Some modern soldiers perform miraculous acts of heroism under impossible circumstances. In the end, courage isn't about the era you're from. It's about who you are when everything's on the line. So, who wins? One-on-one, open field, modern loadout? The modern soldier wins, period. Superior range, firepower, and battlefield awareness overcome medieval armor and weapons. But strip away the technology advantage, force it into close quarters, make it about endurance and hand-to-hand combat. Suddenly, the Crusader is in his element. Here's the real twist, though. This entire comparison misses the most important factor: logistics. The modern soldier is part of a supply chain that includes ammunition production, fuel refinement, satellite networks, and industrial manufacturing. Cut those supply lines, and his technological advantage disappears in a matter of days. The Crusader is a self-contained weapon system. His sword doesn't need fuel. His armor doesn't require spare parts. His horse eats grass. In reality, the winner isn't determined by individual combat prowess or even superior technology. It's determined by who runs out of resources first, who controls the supply lines, and who can adapt their tactics to the terrain and circumstances. The question isn't just who's the better warrior, it's whose entire system of warfare is better suited to the specific conditions of the fight. So there you have it. Dot, strength versus firepower. Faith versus technology. The Crusader versus the modern soldier. But I want to know what you think. In your mind, who comes out on top? The armored knight with centuries of martial tradition, or the modern soldier with technological superiority? And more importantly, under what specific conditions? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Bonus points if you can come up with a scenario I didn't consider. Next time, we're taking this concept even further. The Spartan shield wall versus modern Marines. 300 warriors with bronze spears facing off against the most elite fighting force in human history. Trust me, that answer is going to surprise you even more than this one. Until then, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next video.